Revolution Radio proudly presents, live from the heart of the Blue Ridge, Roanoke, Virginia. It's the Just Bernard Show with host Bernard Alvarez.
I'm hoping that if you're listening, you already know who she is. And this is Laura's been on my show several times throughout the last, 5 years, 6 years we've been doing this. God, 8 years we've been doing this. For those of you that do not know, Laura Eisenhower is an intuitive astrologist. She's a global alchemist. She's a cosmic mythologist. She is also the great-granddaughter of President Dwight David Eisenhower. She is on a mission to reveal our true origins, connected with the Magdalene and Gaia Sophia energies of love and wisdom, and is working to liberate us from the military-industrial complex. If anybody knows about it, it is Laura. So without further ado, let's welcome Laura Eisenhower to the show. Welcome back, Laura. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Bernie? Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you back on. It's nice to hear your voice again. First of all, I just want to thank you for coming on the show. I know you've got like 4 other shows today. You've been quite a busy woman.
Oh, actually, 1 or 2 of them moved to a different day. So
okay, good. So, you can have some little breathing room. I know how that goes. But anyways, I just want to thank you definitely for coming back on the show. I wanted to talk with you today about, because I go through your website, actually quite often I'll go back and start reading some of your articles and whatnot. And you have this wonderful article on there called Sophia Christ Consciousness, Creating Global Transformation. And, of course, I listen to you on all the other shows as well. And you often talk about restoring the balance through this Sophia Christ consciousness, the goddess energy. And I agree with you in the sense that we have been intentionally suppressed to our divinity, to our our infinite possibilities, and that perhaps it is through this goddess consciousness that we can restore the balance. Can you tell us a little bit about what you mean by that?
Yeah, well, it's been way out of balance. And this is rooted in just ancient history, just the origins of why this, happened. Now, in a free will universe, it kind of makes sense that there might be war or, competition, but, for there to be such an attack on just a gender, or just the whole act of partnering, is pretty wild. Obviously, there's an invader force. There's controller groups. There's all sorts of humans that are being played in order to, bring these agendas into, our physical reality, through the facade of government and the theater of, what we see in the news and everything. I mean, stuff that we all could probably agree on. So, bringing the balance back, we also have to relate to the divine masculine. I mean, that energy has been hidden and buried, and we've been dealing with, false king of tyranny archetypes, this negative ego, sort of dominator, controller, suppressor, and then the feminine, who's been exiled and downtrodden and demonized and treated like less than, with specific roles we're meant to play. And if we don't play that role, there's some kind of major punishment. While the men are going off to war, or they're being the warmongers, or, and it's not always gender specific. Sometimes it switches around, and the feminine energy can fall into the patriarchal stuff. I mean, look, we got Hillary running for president. Does it get any scarier than that? I mean, that's that's a mass manipulation of the social engineering that is rooted in a lot of our Earth history. And so we have to understand the programming and take it upon ourselves to bring the balance back through paying attention to how these forces operate within our own nature. And it's not about it having to look a certain way or fit into a certain box. It's just about being authentic. When we're authentic and we can just be ourselves, we're going to naturally harmonize the masculine and feminine within us. And when we can do it without caring what others think, and we, really just listen to ourselves, not only do we have better health, but we begin to activate people and give them permission to do the same. And the ones that have an issue with it, we want them to fall away from our life. And that's a part of the balancing act, is some things are going to slip off the scales in order to be able to bring the scales into harmony. And so the scales get off when we get sucked into the media distortions of the masculine and feminine, or if we allow a partner to lower our self-worth, or if we allow our parents to, whatever ancestral patterns or however we were raised, if there's negative impacts, if we stay stuck in the story, we're going to have to move some energy. And the way we move energy is going on that deeper soul journey and recognizing where the wounds are, and also where the lies are and the programs. And if we can take it upon ourselves to just be open-minded to maybe deeper truths that are going on, while cultivating a path of integrity and self-love and the desire to unify, but also have boundaries where appropriate. Because, it's not like I'm always feeling like running out the door being like, let's all sometimes I'm like, just leave me alone, world. But, the love is always there and the mission's always there. So, just knowing the self, all of a sudden you're living the love story, because the masculine and feminine within you are working together. One's intuitive and one's receptive and the other's creative and a protector. But they both exist within our own being, and we each lean more towards one or the other as our outer persona. But on the inside, it's about having a healthy relationship there.
Absolutely. We have a little bit of an echo. Can someone lower their volume if it's up too loud? I think it's going back and forth. But Laura, in reference to the goddess energy, so many people on the truth path, those of us that call ourselves truthers or whatnot, they seem to have, they've been disinformed that this goddess energy is about, the evil Illuminati. And I wonder what you can say to that. And in reference, and also what is the goddess energy for those that don't understand it?
Well, it's connected to Gaia. It's connected to the Earth. I mean, we're on a multidimensional planet. This planet was seeded with the 13-dimensional core, which made it an ascension planet. When we dropped from dimensions 4, 5, and 6 in the planetary system of Tara, we were dealing with planets exploding like Tiamat, and Tara, collapsed and basically sort of exploded. And what we're dealing with on this Earth body is a part of the remnants of that, and sort of a new creation that came out of it. And that's where the goddess energy actually morphed into the physical planet to aid and assist our development. Because now we're not functioning on a 12-strand DNA level. Now we're dealing with compromised DNA. We're dealing with duality and this restoration of polarity into a dance instead of a power struggle. And it's encoded in nature. Our DNA and the Earth grids are exact replicas of each other. Our chakra system is an exact replica of the 15-dimensional time matrix. We are limited to the 7, though. We don't really think beyond the 7. When we go beyond the 7, we're actually going into the energies of where the divine union is happening, which actually heals the Earth grids, because those energies got unplugged. The Cathar lines and the Albion lines got unplugged. There's Nephilim reversal grid dark technologies under Stonehenge that are affecting the ley lines, which in turn affects us. And we've been targeted for a really long time. So the goddess energy is that powerful frequency that overrides all this mind control and all these negative agendas. But of course, the Illuminati is going to want to create sort of a new age version of it that is a trap that people slip into. And, and I get all sorts of criticism like, oh, you and your goddess thing and new age bullshit teacher. And it's like, okay. First off, it could be further than the truth. I didn't get this from a book. I've been doing this for lifetimes and since I was a kid, and it's a very ancient energy. What's new is that the newness is like remembering. Maybe it's new to an animal in captivity to go back out into the wild, but that's really its natural habitat. So to say us returning to our natural habitat, whether that be our essence, our embodiment, our memories, our truth that we hold, it's actually what's organic. And that's very different than new age or, the facades that are being held up. And you can tell the difference when there's too much externalization, when it's like, you need this in order to get there, or, there's a lot of false teachings. And so we have to fall back on ourselves. So the goddess essence is about connecting with the earth, going on that journey of rising out of the underworld and creating a huge transformation in the process, which helps to turn the underworld hellish layers of this multidimensional reality into the fertile womb of creativity, where we can plant it with our higher consciousness and generate a higher reality and a better reality that's going to be a frequency that's much higher than what we experience in the Matrix. And that's what the ascension is that we initiate ourselves into this through our own inner work. And we inspire each other, and we're meant to unify as we do it so we can share codes and share energies and share inspiration. But we shouldn't be controlling or telling people what to do or how to do it. That's where the deception comes in, and there's a whole new age model that does that.
I couldn't agree with you more, Laura. I find that there's so much like you call it new age hooey stuff, and it seems that a lot of this information that, let's say, the new age arm of this, it doesn't teach people to go inside. It isn't teaching people to intuitively bring out what's already within them. And the way that you're explaining it, that's the path, to go within versus to seek the answers without. Now, I can't help but wonder, why would the military-industrial complex or the dark elite, or whatever we wish to call them, want to suppress this? What's in it for them by suppressing this type of energy?
Because we're their food source, and they compromised their DNA a long time ago. I mean, we're dealing with things that originate with the Lucifer rebellion, and I'm not coming from a biblical understanding of it, but more, connecting so many dots with so much different information, and just, and not making it all about a particular entity, but it's an energy. It's a negative ego construct that rebelled. And legions of fallen groups of angelics or founder groups became a part of it. And then it was all about how can we manipulate, the seeding of the human race. Well, the original seeding was an avatar consciousness, and it was a very, very high vibration. And that particular embodiment ended up getting attacked. And that's where hybridization happens. That's where DNA manipulation happens. That's where belief systems and ideologies and all sorts of things begin to infect the population. And then all of a sudden we're digressing. And all of a sudden we're dealing with lower creator gods and systems that are created out of a vampiric mentality that suck our energies and take away from us rather than empower us. And so, there's terminologies and names. The whole point is it wasn't just one entity. It became a group operation. And there's more than one. I mean, we got the Draco, we got the Sons, the Black Suns, which is one control group, and then the Sons of Belial, which are connected to dark factions of the Anunnaki. My presentations go into a lot of this sort of history. But they compromise their DNA on purpose so that they could maintain control. And as long as they lock us out of those higher dimensions, then we wouldn't even know what we're missing. And that's why when people go and vote, or they just think that whatever we're experiencing on a human level is just us being human. I mean, no. If you look at the Tree of Life, if you Google it, it has 10 spheres. It's supposed to have 12. 10 spheres is actually what the Draco DNA is. And as long as they keep us kind of stuck where they're stuck, they can manipulate us in a way that allows us to feed them and kind of keep them alive. So it's supposed to be 12 spheres. There's 12 stargates, and there's a 13th gate, which is in the center core of this planet, which guides us into the neutron window, which brings us back into alignment with Andromeda. Now, this actually happens in our 7th, 8th, and 9th chakra when we go all galactic and we just sort of break through the program. Because there's a lot of programming in our 7th chakras. People are like, oh, the 7th chakra is where it's at. It's like, yeah, but there's implants and programs connected to gurus and religions and false new age programs. And, the 7 is a gateway, and it connects us with source, yes. But we got to be able to cleanse ourselves from the archonic deception, which manifests in our chakra system that keeps us spinning in this time loop. And then what that means is we can't get beyond the 7, and we don't experience these higher initiations. And we need those higher initiations to upgrade our DNA. And it's not anything complicated. It really just has to do with love and wisdom and being authentic and divorcing yourself from the system. And even though we have to wake up and still function in it, it doesn't mean that you have to be in agreement to it and make contracts with it. It's like, okay, we're doing our best to move on from it, but we can still be in it and not of it. And so they want to suppress it because for them to heal their DNA and get to the levels that we're capable of going to, they would have to go through death, reincarnation, and have a major karmic cleansing. And they don't want that. So there's transhumanism agendas. The Dracos and all their sort of human pawns are connected to artificial intelligence. That's their means of staying immortal, or using technology as a means to create a life cycle that helps them to avoid what we have been facing. The authentic, organic, spiritual ascension that is all about reconnecting to who we truly are. And so they're trying to stunt that because they need us. Because they're not connected to source, they're not connected to spirit. All they can do is feed on us because they've lost that connection. And so transhumanism is a way to manipulate all of us into making an agreement with that, so that we're locked into that life cycle with them, which means that they come back and abduct, and that abduction cycle puts us sort of in the middle. And sometimes it's us abducting ourselves because we made those choices, and that's why this window period is so crucial. And so they could incarnate into higher lines and do the healing, but they don't want to. I mean, it's like being on heroin. It's an addiction, and even some whistleblowers within the Illuminati have said, we're an ancient cyborg vampire race, and we need you guys as food, and we need your understanding. And it's like, there's a lot of us out here willing to take a bullet for truth. Sorry, it's not okay. It's not the preservation of the flesh is not where it's at. We have to stay connected to our soul to really experience what's infinite. And they've lost that, and they want to convince us that that's what reality is. So to be willing to break the programming is to connect with the goddess, because the goddess has been targeted and suppressed, and the goddess energy exists within men and women. It's great to connect with the goddess energy in nature, just stones, crystals, essential oils, good food, and to just really, as a man energy, embrace your inner feminine. As a female energy, don't let that part of you fall to the wayside and fall for the other BS, and the masculine energy, let's protect that. Let's be guardians of that. And let's, be creative. The I Ching is a great book to really know how to work with masculine and feminine and the elements and alchemy. So I recommend that to people. I did it so much in my youth. I basically memorized the book. I did it so much because I was like, I can't figure this matrix crap out. So
now, when you're saying, and I kind of understand what you're saying, but I'd like it for our listeners to understand. When you're saying they feed off us, is it fair to say that when we give them our attention, when we fall for the media stories that are out there, when we're noticing that we're being distracted by war or by these false flag crises that are happening all the time all over the world, is that what you mean? They're feeding off our energy because we're giving it to them?
Yeah. I mean, talking about it from our observational perspective, I wouldn't say is giving them energy, because sometimes, like, if you mention it, people are like, you're just feeding it. It's like, we're busting it, we're exposing it. Okay. I mean, the thing is, if you're in a relationship with somebody who's cheating and betraying you, the process of liberation has to do with exposure and seeing it and busting it and making it a part of your awareness so that you can begin to move on. Now, feeding it would mean you're buying into the lies, that you're not connected enough to your intuition to know the difference, that you're easily manipulated. And but we got to cut ourselves a lot of slack. I mean, we're talking years and years, thousands of years of cultural programs that we're born into. So we're conditioned at a young age. Some people are called to just snap out of it pretty darn quick. And some, are going to manifest something that will help them to do so. And others will bypass it completely and not choose to. It's out there. And just bring me back to the original question, though, just to make sure I'm covering it.
No, the definition of how they feed off of our energy.
Right. So the minute we, connect with it, it's like you can watch a movie or a show and be kind of neutral and walk away and still be you. It's a lot different when you watch something and you emulate it and you become it and your character begins to get shaped by it, that you sort of give your power away. And that's what we see, like, in the high school mentality. There's a lot of trendiness, or, when people listen to a band, I mean, they begin to become very much about that. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's terrible, unless you're really losing your sense of boundaries and your sense of being able to say no when you want and yes when you want. The rest of it, sometimes it's for entertainment purposes because there's an affinity. But when you lose yourself so much, something else is sort of operating. So it's just really important to, take note of that. there are technologies that they use to siphon our energy. And there's implants and all sorts of things that they utilize in order to siphon. There's actual technologies that are harvesting centers where they collect our energy. And when you look at the reptilian people who maybe studied that race, I mean, those stories are horrific, what they feed on and what they take and what sort of rituals they have in order to get the life force or that current that they're lacking because they're not connected to source or spirit. They're missing that energy of regeneration too. I mean, they're very, very, very powerful, but we make them powerful, I mean, everything starts with energy and thought. And everything that's manifested came from an energy or thought that was consistent enough to actually create a reality. Now, when the masculine and feminine differentiated in being in this free will universe, what emerged was a negative ego. When the masculine and feminine are out of balance, the negative ego emerges. It attracts demons. It attracts entities from other universes that are just like, hey, we're feeding on this, just like we see in our physical health when we're out of balance. It's easier to get sick, but it also strengthens us to be face-to-face with it. So we can look at it as sort of a reminder of how important balance is, because when we're balanced, we bring in the Christ energy, and that's not limited to Jesus or Yeshua. It's all of us. And so when we're open to balance, then we can align with that. And then, it comes in and it heals and it releases us from the grips. But there's all sorts of targeting techniques that make it extremely difficult. Like, particularly when we get past the seventh chakra, that's where the psychic attacks get extreme. So we just have to stay strong and allow it to build strength. It's like being in a spiritual gym. As the pressure is put on us, we have to push back and not let it crush us. And we're going to walk away with some huge muscles.
I couldn't agree more. It seems to me like one of the greatest complaints that I hear about people, quote unquote, going through their awakening is all the emotional garbage, the upheaval that comes out, and that feeling of being attacked. And I kind of say to them, I'm like, you have to understand that when we're talking about energy attacks or parasitic energy, we're like when we're awakening, we're like this bright light, and we're going to attract all these moths to us, for lack of a better term, and we are going to feel that sense of psychic attack sometimes.
And now, back to your host, Bernard Alvarez.
And welcome back to the Just Bernard Show here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We are here speaking with Laura Eisenhower about restoring the balance of divine energy here on our planet. And Laura, I was just contemplating during the break that, we're sharing a lot of information today, and a lot of that information can be a little scary for people when we come to realize, like that big aha moment, the awakening of how we're being manipulated by the media, how we're being poisoned in our food, how we're being poisoned in the air, the water, how basically this whole blatant dark system is doing everything and every way to suppress our infinite possibility and our divine nature. What are some ways that people who are feeling that fear, because for me, I believe that fear is also something they feed off of, so to speak. What have you done, and what can you share with others to help us transcend through that fear and that big overwhelming of, oh my God, it's just a hopeless cause?
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm incredibly overwhelmed by the energies. I'm not feeling things. I don't know. I mean, where things are right now, something is just way off. I feel it in my own personal life. It's like I can barely even go to the grocery store. I just sit and look at the store. I'm like, I just can't go in. I feel too sensitive. I don't feel, it's just like, I don't know what it is. It's just something energetically, and it doesn't have to do with empowerment or disempowerment. It's something that just needs to give. So the thing is, like, okay, am I being attacked in that moment? Is that a fear? Like, what is going on? What is that? It's like, okay, my nervous system is just like, I don't know. So, I mean, the thing is, being authentic, you can't really target that. The thing is, if you feel a fear, you gotta use it as a tool. It's not a destination. You use it as a tool. Everything that has a negative has a flip side. So you just have to follow through and take it to the other side. Like, okay, if this doesn't feel so good, if this is negative, if this is, a lower emotion, Okay, let's flip it over. What's the other side of that? Maybe a huge revelation or epiphany. Maybe a validation about the beauty of your heart and the depth of your character and the fact that love matters. And maybe there's just wounds that you just can't heal. But what's the other side of that? That's going to feed you as a teacher. That's going to give you knowledge and strength that's going to support others through their dark times. So we have to make it work for us. You can't really feed on that, but what you can feed on is when that fear becomes, oh, we're screwed, or oh, I'm afraid of the false flags, so I'm going to vote for this particular candidate because they said that they're going to solve that. It's like, that's fear-based that feeds them. Fear-based that we own on a personal level, animals feel fear. Fear's not a problem. It's what you do with it and what context it shows up in that I think we need to question. Like, I have my moments of anxiety. I'm like an emotional wreck most of the time. But that's me. That's my energy. And I'm responding to the desecration of all that's sacred. And it hurts. And I can't make that go away. But it feeds me like the fuel to continue to do my work, And sometimes I do feel like I want to give up, but I can't, and it's impossible. So, just really look at that fear. There's fear that's generated from propaganda, programmings, the fear of getting old, the fear of death, the fear of, all these different things happening in the world. Yeah, war. And it's like, okay, is that really where it's at? No, that's a program. What's organic, is different. Now, we might have to work through those matrix programmings and face those fears, and that's fine. That's doing the inner work. We're required to do that. It's another thing when we buy into it to the point where we lose ourselves and become unconscious to that fear, and we don't even notice that we're operating from a fear when we don't even feel anymore. That's the problem. I think it's fine to feel these things. I don't think it feeds them because it forces us to do something with it versus denial and suppression. So I don't know. I'm the kind of person that I can't keep anything down. And I don't know if it's fear that I feel. My heart's broken, period. I don't know if that generates fear. I'm pissed off too. And, people can criticize me for that and say, oh, that's not very enlightened of you, but I know how to access bliss. I know what my mission is. I know what our potential is. And I'm going to always alchemize those feelings to the best of my ability. And that's the best I can do. And all I can do is be honest, because I think that's going to go a lot further than, oh, I never get angry, or anger's bad. It's like, we're the 4 elements, earth, air, fire, water. And we better freaking feel it if we want to transform and align ourselves with the spirit frequencies, which generate miracles and cleanse those elements, which the planet desperately needs us to do, because if we can do that for ourselves, the earth will respond. All the toxicity, the chemtrails, everything really does reflect how much we've allowed ourselves to lose ourselves to the matrix program. The minute we wake up, that scenario starts to change because divine justice starts to come in and a purification process gets activated.
I can relate to that, Lauren, and I feel the same way you do. I do, and I find that like you said, that broken heart as to what's happening on our planet, what's happening to the people, to life itself. It is heartbreaking, and I do find that fear and anxiety as a motivator. And yes, that anger to me is a motivator, but it's not. I guess the way I transform it, like you said, that inner alchemizing of it is to bring awareness, to offer tools, to share my story like you're doing. I think that's a great way of doing it. And the worst thing we can do, I have to agree, is to suppress it, to make believe there's nothing going on, and to make believe that we're happy-go-lucky all the time. Yes, life is about feeling good, and that is the joy of life. But the reality of it is we're still human beings in this time and space with what's happening to us historically. So I think it is a great motivator. So I definitely agree with that. Now, to bring it to, and I think people don't understand the depth of this, and I want to bring it to, actually it was funny, today somebody posted, Represent Us, the organization for One Voice, One Vote, posted your great-grandfather's video on the military-industrial complex. And I don't think people have the understanding of how much that quote-unquote shadow government is not only in control of our country, but other countries as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean it's a global operation, and the United States is a pretty huge hub for it. I mean, there's no war that's really ever been won. It's all about us winning the war within ourselves. We're consolidating all these lifetimes, incarnations, all these different experiences, and now it's a frequency battle. It's a battle for our energy and consciousness, and so it's a global thing. I mean, the ley lines are affected all over the planet. Stargates that connect to the monadic integration in our galactic chakras is targeted, and those places are where there's usually war or a deeper battle going on, that relates to this hidden military industrial extraterrestrial complex, and there's just the negative ET agenda. And then there's a lot of benevolent, amazing beings that are here to assist us, and I say this a lot, I mean, but we have to step up to the plate. Our immune system's not going to do all the work for us. It's the same sort of principle or law. If we want to get healthy, if we want to thrive, we have to be willing to drop the stuff that gets in the way of it. And then it's a resource that's there, that's always there. Nothing can destroy it. It can be blocked, though, and we can distract ourselves away from it. So the whole agenda, the military-industrial complex, is to keep feeding this ongoing war, which is not the facade we see in the news. It's this hidden secret space program stuff connected to colonization on other planets and the implementation of a new world order where we are all being controlled through antennas that nanoparticles from chemtrails put into our bodies that link to artificial intelligence computers, systems. And the thing is, it destroys all biological life. Whoever it's promising a great world for, it's not true. And that's one thing, Corey Good talks about that I'm just like, yeah, that is right on. Artificial intelligence destroys all biological life. So the ones that are being convinced that it's the way to go, or it's what so-called advancement means, that are promoting these breakthroughs in science, it might make the world advance for a little while, but then it destroys. And the thing is, it's like a virus. It's foreign to this galaxy or universe, and it's foreign to our ascension process. So all it wants to do is take over and attack like a cancer. And there's, and we can combat it, even though we're in a world that has this. We can combat it through our love and our high. It's a frequency thing. We're the override frequency. Us connecting to the earth and the goddess. This is not just a feminine figure or the earth as in the earth. We're talking an earth that's a multidimensional being, consciousness, that we're connected to on a DNA and chakra level. We're living replicas of this. So the military-industrial complex and its programming are to turn us into these more machine-type things that are more on a life support system, losing more and more connection to our soul, which digresses us into EBEs and grays. So, we got to understand that whatever's alien, we're a lot more connected to all of it than we realize, but we're making a choice here. We're either going to align with what our immune system is asking of us, what our higher self is asking of us, which is to step up to the plate, or our lower ego that wants the quick fix and wants the techno gadgets or wants to join the dark side because wouldn't it be so cool to go to Mars? It's like, yeah, we're going to go wherever we're going to go, but we got to bust the imposters first. Just like somebody who's saying, I want to fall in love. It's like, yeah, we're biologically created to want that. And it's a part of our deeper soul journey. But we got to make sure we know who we are first, or else, we're going to end up not very content with who we end up with. So the way I like to describe it to people is whatever seems complicated, break it down to the most obvious and just look at yourself. The same laws and principles apply as they do in the larger picture. The military-industrial complex has been connected with a darker negative ego construct, which is about domination and control. And so the reason the goddess energy is important is because she's not going to allow it. She's the mother. Whatever about these projections throughout history, she's the creator with the masculine. But we have to be careful of the seeds we choose to fertilize and birth. And that's something that us as men and women need to, figure out together. And we have to figure it out within our own self. And most people aren't mature enough to even know where to begin with that. And that's what's heartbreaking, because we have it completely in our grasp to shift all of this. And it's quite simple, actually.
Oh, I hear you, and I feel you with that. Absolutely, the idea of, well, of course, giving our attention to the false idea of the goddess, giving our attention to thinking we're saving something when in fact it's hurting something, and it just seems like people are just hoodwinked so easily. And I can't think, we do this radio show, you do what you do. A lot of us are trying out there to try to shake things up for people to think for themselves and to really connect with themselves and be genuine. And I, like you, get very frustrated. Like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not getting anywhere. But it seems, every once in a while we get reminded we are getting somewhere. We are getting somewhere. The information is getting out there. But I don't feel that, I, I feel, well, I guess you feel the same way. I feel like we could be doing more, And the question is, what is that more? And, one of the things that I can't help but think of today, great example, today is Llamas. I don't think people realize how much some of these dark, military industrial complex and secret societies are involved with the dark aspect of the occult, and how today is a great example to do something positive from the earth to combat any kind of negative energy that they're trying to, formulate their formulas to utilize this time, the moment between summer solstice and autumn equinox, that this would be a great time to send, positive energy onto the earth, to send love and compassion to try to counteract that. Now, do you believe that there is some kind of how do I call it? I guess a magical war, and that we could help utilize these energies, like today, for example?
Well, today's a new moon, and I really encourage people to sign up for my newsletter. Just $3 a month. The culmination of that is so helpful to me. I'm really challenged in major ways right now, and the energy is everything. The thing is, what more can we do? We can love more deeply. We can be more mature with our wounds and handle them with a certain level of transparency and responsibility. We can be better listeners. We can, pay more attention to the beauty and details of nature, and let our hearts be open by just seeing something like, a beautiful bird or just the beauty and magic that exists within nature is the most inspiring. So if we want to do more, we need to eat our food more slowly, savor it, let it sit on your taste buds and feel it, and don't gobble it down so quick, because whatever, you know what I mean? So
yeah, what do they call it? Mindfulness, using mindfulness.
Consciousness, be conscious communicators and creators. That's where we can always take a step up, because, all of us are generating something into the environment. All of us carries a purpose of, all right, let's take it to the highest level. We're here on a path of mastery. We're here to become masters. The Matrix has taught us that, oh, this is good, this is not good. This is fortune, this is misfortune. This is status, this is loser. And all those labels, this is ADD and this is, heart disease. It's like, let's lift up the lid of all that. And what is it really? What is the truth of what those labels are? It's the beauty and diversity of life. And it needs to feel real comfortable in its own skin to thrive. Because when it starts getting thrown labels, the blocks are there, the disconnect is there, and you're giving your power away. So, we got to just really look at our lives and ask ourselves these questions and make the improvements to ourselves and our relationships and our communities, and it'll ripple out. Some of us are called to, be out there a little bit more, and that's fine. Not everybody is, but it doesn't matter. It's just a calling. I mean, other people are called to be more grounded and settled in their home base, and that's freaking awesome. Oh my God, I'm taking that one next time, but I know I'm not coming back to this particular dimension. No, thank you. But yeah, so that's what we could be doing more of. And yeah, getting the information out there, but remembering, we want to inspire. We don't want to push away. So there's an art to it, and I'm a work in progress trying to figure that out. Everybody's different, and we just do the best we can. But I mean, you're doing amazing, and you must know that. And anybody else, it's just like, it's a great place to be. It's very liberating to just have a voice. But anyway.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Thank you for that. With that being said, I wonder if you could share with us a little bit, because we're running out of time. But I wanted to go on to some of the work that you're doing right now. What kind of shows are you going to be coming up next? I know you have a workshop. I think you're going to be doing a goddess workshop coming up.
Well, we are going to be doing a series of events and retreats And I have a SETI ranch coming up, and that is my birthday weekend, September 29th. I encourage people to come to that. It's just going to be awesome. We got guest speakers, Adam Apollo. I could list them all. I mean, I've got it posted on my Facebook. And that's September 29th. The Star Knowledge Conference is mid-August in Colorado. The event in Mount Shasta with Corey Good and Michael Saul is the end of August. And then there's a 5D event, the Alchemy event in Berkeley with David Farman. So there's just a lot of events. And then I'm going to Chile first week in September to speak about HARP and chemtrails and protecting the virgin forests and the deserts there, which will be exciting. So yeah, I would just keep up with, I'm trying to master the whole website marketing. It's not my strong suit, and I just got a new website, but lauraeisenhower.com. If you could subscribe to my newsletter, it would greatly support a lot of the stuff I do that I don't get paid for, and a lot of the research that I do. And then, you'll see about my sessions, and I do sessions. So.
Yes, that's wonderful, and I thank you for that. I think it's so important. I recently started doing personal sessions about a year and a half ago, and I don't think people realize how wonderful it is to be able to talk to you individually or to me individually. I felt that was like the next step. I wanted to connect with people one-on-one and to help them through their personal struggles, and I'm guessing you're doing the same thing through your sessions.
Yes, I am.
Wonderful, wonderful. Oh,
yeah, the thing is, if you put out a lot of information, and also being very well versed in going through so much and not really having anybody that really understood, it's kind of two vows I made. Like, I want to help people through the darkest of dark. And if I'm going to put out all this controversial information, I want people to, be able to come and just ask questions and get more clarity. So.
Yes, exactly. Now, with everything that's going on, and again, we've only got about 3 minutes left. I just wonder, what are your thoughts on the drama, the circus that we're seeing with the U.S. elections? And I know every election cycle seems to be getting worse and worse.
I can't bear it. I literally, I literally cannot take it. It makes me sick. I cannot take it. And the amount of posts and attention, and now it's like, oh, whatever her name is in her, whatever, like in her days with other women, it's like, wow, like, why? Like, who are these people? And it's like, who cares? But people care because, it's like, ooh, it's a part of that. I mean, whatever. I have no judgment on it. And I think some people have the right mind to see it from the right perspective, and others, are probably falling into the whole trap of why they're even putting it out there.
There's a difference. I call it rubbernecking.
Right. There's a difference between observing the BS and sharing about it and then being sucked into it. So, I personally can't take any of it at all. And it really, like, I'm working on my neutrality, but again, I'm human and doing my best with it. I have a place I can go that's very detached, but at the same time, I've made an agreement to be a warrior here, but not at the cost of everything. So I gotta, just
find that balance. I hear you there.
Exactly, and I'm a Libra.
Oh, good. So you probably have it within you.
Yeah.
With that being said, I have to say that I keep hoping there'll come a point where the corporate control will dissolve away. There's got to be an end to it eventually.
Yeah.
And trying to visualize what that's going to look like is the hard part. I think if we can visualize what that looks like, we can work toward that. But right now we're just chipping away. I'd like to see a sweeping away.
It's a curing disease. There can be just an amazing miracle, and all of a sudden all the symptoms are almost gone. And sometimes it's a more long and drawn out process. It's really up to us as the collective. But we have everything we could possibly need. We're not at the mercy of whatever the human race decides as a whole. If we get it, we get it, and we're moving on to better places. We might make more agreements to come in and assist or be spirit guides. Who knows? I mean, it's all very individual, but it's all very, collective. But it's all that we need is here. And that's the beautiful thing we have to remind ourselves of, no matter how hard it gets, and let people be on their path, and we'll do our best to assist them. But they got free will, and so do we.
Yeah. Great. And those are perfect closing words. Thank you so much, Laura. And remember, everyone, you can go to lauraeisenhower.com. You have a Facebook page as well that they can see some of your stuff.
Yeah, Laura Eisenhower.
Okay, wonderful. And as well, I've been looking at, I like going to your, what is it, the Sophia Gaia, cosmicgaia.com. Anyway, everyone, we love you very, very much. We will see you next Tuesday. Remember to join me tonight on YouTube live at 7 p.m. Eastern